Hello and welcome to a new video on the Crypto2 YouTube channel in the classical Cipher series. In this video I want to show you how you can break a ciphertext from which you don't know the type of the cipher. I structured the video into different parts. First of all, I want to give you a short introduction of the used ciphertext. I use an original historical ciphertext in this video. Then I want to give you a step-by-step cryptanalysis, and here we will first see what transcription means. Then we will have a look at how to detect the type of used cipher, and finally, of course, we want to break the ciphertext. In this video I want to use a ciphertext which is an encrypted letter which was sent in a bottle during the US Civil War. You can see the encrypted message on the right side here. And this letter was sent from a commander, probably John Grimes Walker, to Confederate General John Pemberton. And the decrypted letter states that he cannot expect any reinforcements. And this message here was kept at the Museum of the Confederacy in Richmond, and its content was unknown until 2010. Clearly it's broken now. And the message was then decrypted in 2010 by a CIA codebreaker. And of course, on the right side you can see John Grimes Walker, who's probably the sender of that message, and you can see General John Pemberton on the right side here. Now let's have a look at the first step when we want to break such a ciphertext. And of course, our cryptanalysis algorithms in Crypto2 and probably every other tool that you may use work only with text and not with pixels. And we have here, of course, a scan or a photo of the original ciphertext, and the first thing we have to do is to create a transcription. Transcription means that you take the original photo, or maybe you are also in possession of the ciphertext, and you transcribe it by creating a text document. So the input of a transcription is, for instance, your image, then you transcribe it, and the output in that case is text. That can be ASCII or UTF-8 text. And some tips: when you transcribe such a document, you can do this, for instance, with automatic tools, but most probably will do it by hand. And if you do it, also transcribe, for instance, the spaces, since these are very important for our cryptanalysis. And of course, when you transcribe such a text, you will probably make some errors, or some letters are really hard to understand or to guess what these are. And this means that when you analyze the text, it's not a step-by-step thing where you start with step A, then step B, then step C. Probably you have some kind of loop. So you transcribe, then you analyze, then you decrypt or break, and probably you will see there are some errors in the decrypted plaintext, and so you go back to the transcription part of the analysis, you improve your transcription, so it's like a circle. And here we can see the transcription of this document. I did this by hand, so you just look at the first letter, write it down as S, then E, A, N, then very important the space, and I also keep the line breaks, and in the end you have the transcribed text. But we still do not know what kind of cipher that is. So here comes the second part. And the second part is the problem that we don't know the type of used cipher. And for solving this, we make an analysis of the cipher type. And here are some ideas that you could follow. And the first thing, what could happen if you have a ciphertext, we could have digits. In this case, of course, we do not have digits, but many historical ciphers are written or encrypted using only digits. And when you have digits, you have probably a homophonic substitution cipher, a polyphonic substitution cipher, or it could be a monoalphabetic substitution cipher. If you don't know what these types of ciphers here mean, you should have a look at a previous video that gives you an introduction of these types. Then, of course, if there is a separation with the digit cipher, so spaces between the digits, we assume that these belong together and we can go on. So that means that, for instance, you have 1, 5 as the first two digits, then you have a space, then you have 2, 6, and so on. So in that case, it's very probable that these two digits always encrypt a single letter. And then we can go on. You make a mapping from these 2 digits, for instance, to letters, and then you could use, for instance, the monoalphabetic substitution analyzer or the homophonic substitution analyzer and so on. But if there's no separation between the digits, special further analysis is needed to divide the text into groups of digits that belong together. And this is a really, really hard problem. Actually, this is research right now how to do this, and you will probably have to write parsers for that. You need for every new cipher a new parser, and this is not part of this video here. So let's come to the next part here. We have Latin letters. And when we have Latin letters, we have probably a monoalphabetic substitution cipher, a polyalphabetic substitution cipher, or it could also be a transposition cipher. The next possibility is that we could have other symbols, like special symbols, like astrologic symbols or so on. And what you do then is you count the number of different symbols. How many symbols were used? And if this count is more than 26, we have probably a homophonic substitution cipher. So what you would do then is you make your transcription for each of these special symbols. You take another ASCII symbol, and in the end then, when you have your transcription with, for instance, 40 or 50 different ASCII symbols, you could use a homophonic substitution analyzer in CrypTool 2. But if the count is below 26, we have probably a monoalphabetic substitution cipher. And then you use your transcription with the monoalphabetic substitution analyzer. And after these 3 different analysis possibilities, we perform further statistical analysis. For instance, frequency analysis on bigrams, or we compute the index of coincidence. So let's come to our cipher. We have the same problem. We don't know the type of the used cipher, but let's make an analysis of the cipher type in our case here. First of all, what we can clearly see is we have Latin letters. So we have no special symbols, we have no digits. That makes our analysis, of course, easier. And then we have at most 26 different letters. That means we have not a homophonic cipher here. And it's probably also not a transposition cipher, since we can see the words. We see here the spaces, the word separators. So with a transposition cipher, you would probably not have the separations here. And most of the classic ciphers, there was no usage of transposition ciphers. And frequency analysis, the index of coincidence, and the Friedman test, that's an analysis test, should show us if it's mono or polyalphabetic. So let's have a look how we do all these analysis in CrypTool 2. And for that, I copy the text and paste it into different workspaces in CrypTool 2. I'm here now in CrypTool 2, and I want to show you how you can analyze your ciphertext with CrypTool 2 and find out the type of used cipher. For that, I search for frequency, and I first open the frequency analysis template. Here you can enter your text and just click play, and then you get the distribution of the frequencies. And what you can see here is that the landscape, so this is ordered right now by the unigram frequencies, but the landscape is very uniform. I will stop this here, and I will change it to not sorting the frequencies. And what you can see here is that it's more or less evenly distributed. It's not as unevenly distributed as you would expect from a, for instance, English language or an English text. And to be sure if this is not a monoalphabetic substitution but a polyalphabetic substitution, I also copy the text and go back to the Start Center, and then I open the Friedman test for classical ciphers. And here I will just at first start this, and then you can see the difference here. Here we have an English text. You can see here the E is very, it has a very high frequency. And then the next one, for instance, is the T. And you see that it's very different. The frequencies are very different. And here, with a polyalphabetic encrypted text, you see that it's more or less uniformly distributed or equally distributed. And you can also see that these Friedman test components here tell you this here is probably monoalphabetic or clear text. And as we can see, this here is clear text. And this Friedman test component tells us this is polyalphabetic, and as we can see here, this is encrypted, and I think that this here is a Vigenère cipher. Yes, this template is encrypted, or the text in this template is encrypted with the Vigenère cipher. So I stop this here, and I remove these, since we don't need this for our test, and then I paste in our ciphertext. And I hit play again. And now you also see again the distribution differs from the distribution of natural language. And you see that the Friedman test component here tells us that this here is polyalphabetic. And it does this by using a provided index of coincidence. I will probably make a video on the index of coincidence, but right now we don't need to explain this. This will be in a later video. And it takes a provided index of coincidence, which is always the same for English, of course, and it compares it to the analyzed index of coincidence. The index of coincidence is a statistical value. And if these are very different, it's very probable that this is polyalphabetic. So we now know that the used cipher is a very probable polyalphabetic cipher, and that comes from the history or the historians. We know that the Vigenère cipher was used in the US Civil War, and thus we should try to analyze it with a Vigenère analyzer at first. And it's also known that the Confederates only used the following 3 keys, which are all 15 letters long. We have complete victory as a key for the Vigenère cipher, then we have Manchester Bluff as a key they used, and we have calm retribution as a key for the Vigenère cipher. So let's try to break it with a Vigenère analyzer in Crypto 2. I'm here now back in Crypto 2, and I want to show you how you can break the cipher, or how we can try to break the cipher with the Vigenère analyzer. For that I search for Vigenère and I have Vigenère analysis. And I paste our text into this ciphertext here. So what do we have here? We have a text input for the ciphertext, we have the Vigenère analyzer, and we have the revealed plaintext. And since we know that the Confederates only used keys with the length of 15, I try a lower bound for the key length of 13 and an upper bound of, let's say, 16. So let's give it a try. And as we can see here, indeed it was encrypted using the keyword Manchester Bluff. And now we have here our ciphertext, or our revealed plaintext. But since I want to see the actual text, I will stop this here. I use the Vigenère edit to the workspace. Here we get our key. I think this is a key. Yes. And here we have the text. Then I copy this text output to this here. Focus everything, and then I will press play again. Oh, and I think I have to change this here to classic and decrypt. So, I've wired it wrong. Sorry, I have to connect it to this input here. Now let's try it again. Yeah, and now we can see the text. So here you can see the revealed plaintext in full screen, and it says that General Pemberton, you can expect no help from this side of the river. Let General Johnson know, if possible, when you can attack the same point on the enemy's line. Inform me also, and I will endeavor to make a diversion. I have sent you some caps. I subjoin dispatch from General Johnston. Yeah, and this is how you can analyze and break ciphertext with an unknown type of cipher. So I hope you liked this short video. If yes, please give a thumbs up. If no, give a thumbs down. And if you also want to see more of these videos, please also subscribe to our channel. This really helps us to grow the channel and supports us. And yeah, thank you very much, and see you in the next video.